Right, a politics editor, Sbu Ngalwa, joins us now to unpack why former president accuses the judiciary of fighting political battles and trampling on his rights. Sbu, a 12-page letter has been out now for a couple of minutes responding to what happened at the Commission of Inquiry today. But, I mean, the final line basically tells you what the former president is feeling. He's saying, as I sharpen my pens to condemn, as you sharpen your pens rather to condemn me, I reiterate that I stand by my earlier statement and will not appear before a process that is not impartial. I stand by the decision not to forsake the law and our constitution. I choose to protest in order to restore our constitutionally enshrined principle of an independent judiciary. That pretty much kind of sums up what he's saying. But while in the same vein, he wants to backtrack a bit and say, well, it's not all of you who I'm painting with this same brush. There are some of you with integrity, and this is why you will never be assigned to certain matters.
Now, obviously, this is Zuma in fighting mode. He's taking his fight now to the entire judiciary, because initially he was targeting the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, but now he's actually accusing some judges of deserting their constitutional obligation and saying that they're fighting political battles. Now, Thabo, in that 12-page letter, it's actually numbered in terms of the sections. He goes as far. First, it's his attack on Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, whom he says, just for the benefit of our viewers, maybe let me backtrack a bit. That letter was released about, as you said, about 30 minutes ago. And one of the people who shared it was in the Twitter account of his daughter, Dudu Sambudla, Zuma Sambudla. And in that letter, he first accuses Judge Zondo of lying to the Constitutional Court. He says the Constitutional Court relied on lies to make the finding against him. Secondly, he accuses Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo of lacking judicial integrity. Now, that's a serious charge, you know, and says that he actually lacks even the independence and open-mindedness. Now, that's a direct attack on the Deputy Chief Justice. And then he says some judges have actually now abandoned their constitutional obligation and are now fighting personal politics. He goes further. Now, let me read this, Thabo, on number 29, where he says, quote, "We sit with some judges who have assisted the incumbent president to hide from society what on the face of it seems to be bribes obtained in order to win an ANC internal election."
Wow.
"We sit with some judges who sealed those records simply because such records may reveal that some of them, while presiding in our courts, have had their hands filled with the proverbial pieces of silver." Now, that's a serious charge. One, against judges whom he says they may have been bribed, and against the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, this relates, Thabo, to the sealing of the records of the CR17 campaign.
Yes.
By the court.
There is a voice that says in those bank statements, what you will find are payments that were made to certain members of the judiciary.
Exactly, and he's playing at that, saying that the reason why the court sealed those documents is not because they were sealed, as the court said at the time, that it was to protect private individuals who would have made donations pending the outcome of the court ruling in that regard. We now know that the court has said that the sealing of those records, the sealing of the public protector actually had no jurisdiction over investigating money that was not public funds. That was privately collected money to assist President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, it's a contentious issue because some people are saying that, how do you distinguish at which point does money become, or does it become a public matter? Because if you influence an ANC election, ultimately you influence the state, because the ANC president ultimately becomes the president of the state. But also, that's also a simplistic understanding, because it presupposes that it's an automatic thing that an ANC will win an election.
But it's a bigger question, though. I mean, if you look at the questioning of Senior Counsel Pretorius today, of what they want the president to come and answer to, his interference, for example, at the appointments at SOEs, quite a big thing, that, right? And there are many who are saying, well, if you look at those statements, they will paint a picture that begins to tell you what is currently happening now. We could possibly be seeing ourselves in a similar situation where those who supported the current president are now sitting in positions at our SOEs, which would speak to a president having direct influence, I suppose, in who sits in which institution.
And very much so. And I think here, Thabo, the basic thing here is that everyone, Jacob Zuma, like any other citizen, is entitled to have his rights respected. And I think that goes into the heart of perhaps some of the argument by Sihle Zikalala, where he says that even though the former president may feel that his rights are being trampled, but at the very least there is an expectation that we should respect the judicial processes, yes. But by all means, regardless of how he feels about it.
Speaking of that, I mean, there's another point which I read here. He says he is taking all his processes on revision, all matters that I have before our courts, except for criminal matters. That's an interesting move.
And going further and saying that even though I'm taking, because remember he had accused Judge Zondo of being biased against him, and then Judge Zondo says, no, we are not friends, I'm not biased against you, and then he took that matter on review, which now seems to be the leg he's standing on, where he says that why would the Constitutional Court make a finding when there is a matter that's before a lower court? But Zondo is saying no, but even before we went to the Constitutional Court, your matter was you had already taken it on review, and that was not the prayer. That the Zondo Commission was asking. The Zondo Commission was asking that Jacob Zuma be compelled to give evidence, regardless of whether he's taking the commission on review or not. So that seems to be the issue. But now here's another
grounds not to show up.
Yeah, and here's another point now, Thabo. He says while he may have taken that matter on review, he believes he's going to lose anyway because the judiciary is biased against him. Now that then tells you that the gloves are
basically off.
Literally off. You know, it's Jacob Zuma versus the South African judiciary. Where it will end, we do not know, but I mean the Constitutional Court has to make a determination based on the application that will be submitted now by the Zondo Commission for his contempt of
Are you expecting the ANC in KZN to do an about 10? I mean, I spoke to the provincial chairperson now. He says, well, we do not seek a political solution to this matter, but it's a legal process. Hence, we are saying, well, he must go and engage with the various courts or the chairperson or whoever he needs to engage with at that level. Will this be in time to come become a political matter?
Look, it already is a political matter, Thabo, in that it's playing out. I mean, if you saw the public display of support for the former president outside his Ngandla homestead, also the earlier press conference by the so-called RET forces, which include people like Carl Niehaus, it already is political, and also it's playing into the divisions within the ANC between those who believe that Jacob Zuma is being persecuted and those who support Cyril Ramaphosa, who believe that the case against Jacob Zuma is a justifiable case against wrongdoing, and that, like anyone else, he should be subjecting himself before the courts. I think for the ANC in KZN, they've actually taken a principled stance to say that, look, we are aware of the clamor and the support that the former president may have, and we may ask that the ANC leadership tread with caution insofar as his case is concerned, but insofar as the legal processes that apply to every member of the public in this country, he is no different, and it should be held to the same standards. I think that is also the very point that Judge Zondo was making today, to say, what now of our democracy, of our democratic
rule of law?
Exactly, if someone like Jacob Zuma disregards it.
Let's have a look at what people are saying on the comments tonight on WhatsApp. This is, of course, just coming in to the reaction. I think former President Jacob Zuma is setting a bad precedent. I say this because when he was sworn in to uphold our constitution and the laws of the country. He is now playing games with our laws for our country. He's thinking that he is able, or he's above the law. I think that's what you want to say. All right, and also I appreciate that. Sam saying the biggest problem is that Zuma's rights were neglected. What was wrong in Zondo's recusal? For a moment, this situation was supposed to have been long avoided. Simbongile saying, I think the former president has run out of options with regard to the law. We are subjected to the arm of the law. The president must subject himself to the laws. Bongile, much appreciated. Thank you very much. For those, well, you can, of course, keep them coming. Be part of the conversation on Twitter at Newzroom405. WhatsApp your questions and comments to 072-110-5584. We continue next to speak to the Mkhonto we Sizwe National Council when we continue next.